Yeah, I was I'm sorry, I've already forgotten your name.
Carmen.
Carmen. I was telling Carmen that I used to, well, and whoever was out there, I used to be on TV years ago. And one of the reasons I got off was I hate watching myself on video. So I guarantee you I will never watch this video. So I used to go home and have to watch myself because I was green and straight out of college and had to learn how to do all this stuff. So. Okay. Well, we'll see if there's any stragglers. Hi, come on in. A few more people.
No, I'm a UK.
Oh, okay, you're already.
I'm a meteorologist.
Oh, you are.
Oh, let me. We'll leave that door open. This way, it's.
I wasn't paying attention the first couple of hours. You're here.
That's an honest answer.
Pretty honest.
Well, we're waiting for the last couple folks to get in here. My name's Joe Sullivan. I'm a meteorologist with the National Weather Service here in town. My title is Warning Coordination Meteorologist, which is sort of a misnomer. It's not just about coordinating warnings. I'm sort of the public service guy. I'm supposed to be more of a media liaison than I am, but my boss likes doing that, so he gets to work with the media more than I typically do. I work primarily with the emergency managers and the public and flood folks and stuff like that. Hydrology, our core partners, which are other like-minded agencies which basically have the mission of protecting lives and property one way or another. So what I'm going to do today is I've got a couple different things, and because I'm not really sure exactly how much you guys already know, you're a different group. I mean, when I usually go out, I talk with spotters, or I'm talking to, floodplain managers or something like this. But I guess, just so that I have a better understanding of what your backgrounds are, you mind if we just go around the room real quick and just short intro on how you ended up in this class and what your experience with weather is, if you know much about it or nothing at all.
I'm Hannah Helm, and I'm retired from environmental protection. So we did a little weather stuff, but I've always been interested. I know how to identify cirrus clouds and cumulonimbus clouds and.
You'll be glad to know that you get to take one of these home with you that have all the clouds on it. So, and if there's any teachers here, I think I have some posters of this one you can put up in your classroom too. So.
And I live on 50 acres way out in the country, and so.
Okay. Well.
Weather affects me a lot.
And let me see. Oh, I don't have the. I'll be giving you guys this too, so you can use it as your tracking map. I may have to print some more up, but I can get it set up so that you can have our 800 numbers. You can call in when you see severe weather and let us know about it too. So, and last but not least, with the Ginsu knives, you also get the handy dandy Weather Spotter's Field Guide. So this is one that I don't give a lot of them out because this is really nice. This is a high-tech thing. Look at that. That's a lot of shiny paper there. That costs a lot of money. So I typically give those only to the people that really show interest at Spotter Talks and come up and talk to me afterwards and stuff like that. These I'll give away to anybody because I can get a lot of them. These are expensive and I can't get very many of. So consider yourself very, very fortunate for getting one of those.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So,
Joe, I'm Peter Brown. Already glad to be here with all the takeaways we get. I grew up on a farm in West Kentucky, so we watch the weather pretty closely. I'm an attorney in Lexington now and kind of have some involvement in environmental issues in the state, served on the course and all.
Okay, great. Next.
Dan, I have only a general knowledge of weather.
That's okay. That's ahead of half the public, I think.
Yeah.
So.
My name is Scott Osborne. I'm a salesman by day and gardener by night, and I just know my tomatoes stunk this year.
Okay. My neighbor.
Tomatoes and weather have something.
Yeah. I've never been able to figure them out. I get these green things that never turn colors. I don't know what they are, so I gave up a long time ago. But my neighbors had lots of them, and they stunk this year. So. Carmen?
My name's Ryan. My tomatoes were incredible this year.
Oh, wow.
I'm so sorry. But I'm still getting them. It's nuts.
Wow.
A brand new bed. It was a brand new bed I put in. It was all it was $200 of soil. So Don't call it dirt. That was last week's class.
Oh. Ah, okay.
Very good.
So, I'm the director of of Louisville's first forest preschool. So it's outdoors all day, every day, through all seasons, so we keep an eye on the weather.
Wow.
Hazardous weather, mostly high winds, cold temperatures, lightning within 5 miles, that kind of thing.
Okay, cool.
And I was living in California up until just a year ago, and I grew up in Michigan, so I'm just happy to be back where there is weather. Because
Yeah.
in Southern California, there's never weather.
Yeah.
It's the same every day. So it's very nice to be in weather again.
Cool. Thanks. Oh, you just bit into something, didn't you? Okay, we'll go around this way.
I'm Faith. I'm a geologist and a longtime weather geek.
Ah, okay.
And I used to work at the Department of Military Affairs with all the emergency managers.
Oh, okay.
And they knew my phone number.
There you go.
My name is Sugunaik. I'm an engineer by profession, and I'm overly concerned about climate change. It's keeping me awake, and that's why I ended up in this class. And
Okay. That's
I'm Sarah. I know nothing about weather.
well, you know when it rains that you'll get wet, right? So you know something about weather. So
And I'm in this class also because to learn more about nature and how I can help climate change.
Okay. Okay.
I'm Jennifer, and I've lived in Kansas. So I feel
I'm
like
sorry. I live there too. Yeah.
I left as quickly as possible.
I was there for 2 years.
We went through like just an immense thick ice like that and then anytime the wind blew, you know, it just
Which is every day in Kansas.
Yeah, it just went through you. There's no trees, there's no hills.
Yeah.
You just stand behind a building and pray.
If you've never been to Kansas, they don't have fence posts made out of wood. They have fence posts made out of limestone because there was no trees to cut down. I mean, that's the truth. And so they have all these limestone fence posts out around there. It's really interesting. So where in Kansas were you?
Well, not way out, but I would drive way out,
Oh, yeah.
where you would start seeing things because everything was the same.
Oh, you had to drive a long way.
I was closer to Kansas City.
Oh yeah, okay. I was in Concordia, which was north of Salina. It's it's kind of out there.
Yeah, and we were by the time we were down by Arkansas, like
Oh, yeah.
Park City.
Okay. Yeah, that's Arkansas outside of the state of Kansas, but it's Arkansas when it's in Kansas. That's the way the river goes. It's
Or
the
the
Arkansas
side of
River.
the casino you're on.
Yeah, exactly. Next.
I'm Tank. I'm the education coordinator at the Louisville Nature Center.
Ah, okay.
And I know that when it rains, I get wet.
All right. Very good. Yeah, you have any tomato stories?
Oh, I'm Jennifer. I used to be obsessed with the weather, and I thought I wanted to be a meteorologist. And so back in the day, my mom got me this thing that you put on your fence to like measure precipitation, like wind stuff, because we didn't have technology like they do now, where you can get a little thing.
Anemometer.
Yes, and so I kind of like to do if I'm with anyone that I trust, like not storm chasing, 'cause we're not in Kansas, but I do like it. I like to go outside every time.
Mm-hmm.
But I forgot about the clouds and all that stuff. But I'm mental health profession, so I didn't get this training in college, so I'm really excited.
Most of the meteorologists I know need mental health professionals, so yeah. We're kind of crazy that way about weather. Yeah, we tell people to stay inside, and we run outside all the time.
It's
So
so cool. And I
yeah.
got to I went outside during a hurricane in the Outer Banks when I was there once. It just so happened to be. And it was really cool. But now I went back inside.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's probably a smart thing. Yeah.
Survival instinct kicked in.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a good instinct.
Not
Yeah.
like tornadoes. It
No,
wasn't
no.
It was just different. I thought it was going to be so like the movies, but
Most things aren't like the movies. Yeah, including the movie Twister. It's not really like that. So,
Come on now.
yeah. Oh. Sharknado is real though. Okay, just remember that. Be careful when you're near any large bodies of water that have sharks and tornadoes, because they will bite your head off. So, yeah. Next.
My name is Julie. I'm from Louisville, and I'm just here to further my education. I don't really know a lot about weather, and I don't have a television set, so I don't watch
Well, that's
weather.
okay. I have a television set, but I don't watch it very much. My son got me a Roku stick, and now I watch it more. Yeah. So I don't watch a lot of the TV weather folks. can't let them know that. So.
My name's Olivia. I work with Julie at the Parklands. We work at the Education Center.
Ah, okay. Love the Parklands. Oh, I didn't see the logo on there. Yeah.
Education. I took a weather class in college, and it was like the hardest class I took.
Yeah?
Very interesting, but super hard.
Okay.
Thanks to my knowledge.
Oh, by the way, Parklands are one of our Weather Ready Nation ambassadors. So, yeah, I'll mention that later on.
So guys, I'm talking to you guys. I'm not the new guy in the class. I'm a weather geek for life. I work with Carmen in Biosystems and Ag Engineering. I'm actually a extension meteorologist for the state of Kentucky, mainly agriculture. Minimize that weather-related surprise for farmers and producers across the state. So. Cool.
And the UK Ag weather stuff, they do more with our data than probably, I mean, just they do a lot. It's incredible. So.
And I brought some handouts to give to everybody. I just thought about it.
You, sir, you got in late, but you get to introduce yourself anyway.
Dave Higgins. I'm directionally challenged.
Okay, so you drove to Lexington and then you came here, right?
Nearly.
Oh.
Almost at it, but I was on my way to Nashville for a while.
Oh, okay.
But what do I know about weather?
Yeah.
It's raining right now.
And you got wet.
I studied a little bit about it. Not a great deal. I know that lightning can go sideways.
Yeah, it can.
I guess it can go from the ground to the clouds as well, can't it?
The visible stroke goes from down up.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And there's what 5,000 lightning strikes per minute or second or something. Or
Don't ask me. I can't remember numbers anymore. So, but yeah, there's a lot. There is always lightning hitting the ground somewhere on the planet. So.
Electronic charges between the atmosphere and the
Yep, that's one of the ways you do it. So. And you, young man?
I'm here because both the sports I play directly affected by weather.
You play football and baseball? No.
I water ski and I play lacrosse.
Oh, okay. Water skiing, especially when you're out on the water. That's water's a conductor of electricity, and lacrosse, any field sports are. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. Oh, and Wayne.
I think introduced myself to most people here, but I'm with the Extension Office in Jefferson County, and I would comment that if you do have an issue or a concern with your tomatoes, you can call our office. We can help you fix that.
There you go.
Next year, call me too because mine were incredible.
And he'll just direct you to him. Yeah. Just go ask that guy. So.
Oh, you can.
Okay. Well, this is actually a presentation I just did a couple weeks ago at the Kentucky Association of Mitigation Managers, and.
Was that a rowdy bunch?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a fun group. Yeah, it actually is a fun group. So I don't know why this is not working right now, but that's okay. I can just no, it's there. So okay. So quick question: what do weather and real estate have in common? Anybody ever bought a house, sold a house?
Location.
Bingo. Location, locate. Very good. Yes. Everything about weather is reliant on your location on our planet, our spinning planet. So latitude, elevation, and the proximity to the moisture sources are the three big things that we'll look at. First of all, we have this big old blue marble, and if I can get it to spin. There we go. We see that it does rotate on its axis. And so that's, what's that?
It's not flat?
No, it's not flat. Well, it's two-dimensional here. This is a two-dimensional representation of a three-dimensional object. So you have to go, you got to visualize it. We don't have any real high-tech stuff here. But because of where we are on this planet, we're pretty far north. The bulk of the planet, the equator right down here, it's a lot warmer here. It gets a lot more sunlight, and the poles get much less sunlight, so it's colder on both poles, and it's warmer at the equator. Everybody knows that, right? Yeah. You don't go to the tropics to go snow skiing. So, and where we happen to be in the United States, we've got all sorts of terrain that we can play with, and the terrain plays a role too. We'll see that in just a few minutes. But anyone ever been out to Wyoming or Colorado? Yeah, what happens when you go up the hills out there, the mountains out there? It gets cold, dusty, yeah. The temperature above the ground is much colder than, the higher you go above sea level is much, much colder. So things are much colder here, things are much warmer here. Whether it's north or south, it's always going to be colder the higher in elevation that you go. Hi, come on in. Got a seat right here. Just like at church, if you're the last one in, you got to sit in the front row. So geography and terrain play a role in the weather across the United States and in Kentucky. Kentucky is a very diverse state. I grew up in Iowa, and there's less than 1,000 feet elevation difference across Iowa from the southwest tip to the northwest corner. Here we go from 260 feet elevation on the Mississippi River out west to, I think it's Black Mountain, it's 4,131 feet. So there's a lot of elevation change. And it's not one slow change. Like if you lived in Kansas and you drove to Denver, you wouldn't even notice you don't notice that you're going up, but you go up to 5,000 feet elevation by the time you get to Denver, and it's just one long, slow hill. If you go across Nebraska, same sort of thing. You go from 1,000 feet elevation in Omaha to 3,800 feet, I think, something like that, out near Scotts Bluff. So the elevation plays a role in our our weather as well. And then let's look at the moisture source. The basic ingredients for any thunderstorm or for any kind of what we call active weather, meaning precipitation of some type, rain, snow, thunderstorms, is you need three things. You need moisture, you need instability, and you need lift. I've got another slideshow I can show the instability and lift part, but on this particular one, we're just going to look at the moisture. And looking at the United States, we've got a couple different moisture sources that might affect us here in the Ohio Valley. So let's take a look at the closest one. The closest one is actually the Great Lakes. Do we get much out of the Great Lakes for moisture, for precipitation around here? Not so much, because when it's coming down, when air goes over the Great Lakes, if it picks up any moisture at all, it's taking it from a cold environment up here and trying to bring it south, and it's bringing it a long distance. Now, have you ever been to Buffalo, or even up near in the snow belts in northwest Indiana? They get some stuff called lake effect snow there. They can get dumped on. I think Buffalo's had 7 feet of snow in one day. That doesn't happen. It doesn't reach down here this far. So the moisture just doesn't make it this far. So we'll take that one away. We're not going to look at that. We've got other sources of moisture. We've got this big one out here to the west. We've got this one down south and the one off to the east. All these oceans around us. Now, we live in a part of the world, or the part of the planet, where the region is called the prevailing westerlies. The prevailing winds are from west to east. If you go farther south, you have the prevailing easterlies that run from the Azores off the coast of Portugal and bring our hurricanes. That's the birthplace for a lot of hurricanes that hit in the Caribbean. It's over Portugal, north of Africa, and they go from east to west. But most of our weather in this latitude goes from west to east. So let's take a look at the Pacific. Is that going to be our big moisture source for all our precipitable weather here? No, because when it comes across, what does it run into? Rocky Mountains. It's like a big, big fence there, so it doesn't get across. So we just say, no, we're not going to look at that one. How about the Pacific? Same sort of thing. The Appalachians, not nearly as tall a mountains, but they are like a big fence and they don't go across. By the way, when moisture goes up a hill, when air with moisture goes up a hill, the moisture cools because it's forced upward where the air is colder, and as it cools, then it condenses and it gets heavy then because it condenses into water droplets that are actually heavier than, and the updraft can't hold them up, so it falls out as rain or snow. So the west sides of the Rocky Mountains are much more lush than the east sides. In fact, when I lived in Cheyenne, Wyoming, that's a desert. They get about 7 inches of rainfall, rain and snowfall combined, a liquid total per year, because they're on the dry east slopes. But in western Wyoming, the Tetons will get 450 inches of snowfall. So that's assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, which is a little high for there. It's more like, or a little low, it's more like 15-to-1. But you're talking 30 to 45 inches of liquid moisture out here on the west slope of the Rockies of the Continental Divide versus 7 on the east slopes. So same sort of thing here, and we don't get a lot of moisture coming off the Pacific or the Atlantic. Case in point, how many of you remember just a couple weeks ago What was this hurricane? Yeah, Florence. Oh my gosh, we got so many phone calls here. Our phone was ringing off the hook. What's Florence going to do to it? Nothing. We can't get that moisture over here. You know how much water we got out of it? I don't know, 1/4 of an inch, something like that. You know how much we got from the remains of Gordon that came from the Gulf of Mexico the week earlier? We got 7 inches overnight one night. We had a taxi cab driver drown in West Louisville. And we had a couple other kids drown in the state. We've had 4 fatalities from drowning in the last month and a half in Kentucky. But none of that moisture came from the Pacific. It all comes from here.
I thought it was really interesting. It all dumped on Interstate 81. That's where all the heavy rain was.
Yeah. Well, and because...
Right there in front of the mountains.
Yep, exactly.
It couldn't get up that high.
Nope. Goes up. My daughter was in, one of my daughters was in Hawaii about a month or 2 ago. They were on the big island in the town of Volcano, or the community of Volcano, and the first couple days they were there, and then their last 3 days they were going to be there was that's on the east side of the big island, and then they moved over to the west side into this little town by, I can't remember the name of the town. I've never been to Hawaii, so I don't know, but that's where their plane was going to take off. So they had the last couple nights they were going to hang out there. Well, the day after they left, Hurricane Lane dumped 45 inches over the course of a day and a half, 45 inches of rain on the east side of the big island, washed out the roads that they drove on, mudslides everywhere. It was just a disaster over on that side. They got less than a 1/10 of an inch of rain before, and then it just started to rain at the Kona, I think is where it was, the airport, right as they were taking off. So that was just a little tiny, I mean, that's a little tiny island. Doesn't even nowhere near the magnitude of this. So that just kind of goes. It's the exact same of this. It's called a rain shadow. You get the rain shadow downwind of any large obstructions. Down in the Gulf of Mexico, though, flat as a pancake going up. The Mississippi Delta just rolls right up here. So that's where we get most of our moisture.
Just a question about that, because we're the prevailing westerlies, right?
Mm-hmm.
That there's also still like it comes up from the Gulf.
Right. Yeah. That's a good question. Actually, the prevailing westerlies means that's the flow of the weather systems. Doesn't necessarily mean that we only have west winds here, because when you have highs and lows, air around high pressure goes out of high pressure and into low pressure, and it goes out in a clockwise fashion in the northern hemisphere. It goes into low pressure in a counterclockwise. So depending on where the highs and lows are associated with that, you can have any direction wind flow around here at all. Okay. I mean, but the system that's bringing the energy is coming in from the west, but it has to interact with the moisture from the south. Okay, let's look at tornadoes. How does the elevation affect tornadoes? Anybody want to hazard a guess about why all the tornadoes that have ever occurred, well, in the last, this only goes to 2013, but 63 years of tornadoes. Anybody see a pattern here? Why aren't there lots of tornadoes out here? They don't have the moisture out here. They're up in a higher elevation. You have all this Gulf moisture. We're sitting at, I think we got a 70, hold on a second. What's the dew point right now? 71 degree dew point. That means if the temperature gets down to 71 degrees, dew is going to form on the grass. The highest dew point ever recorded in Cheyenne, Wyoming, I know a lot about it because I was out there, 63 degrees. And when they had 63 degrees, they had a massive flash flood that killed 12 people. So 63 degrees is when you go, oh, I can shut off the air conditioning, for the afternoon and go outside. It's breathable around here. 71 is not. Dew point can get extremely high. You can get up in 1995, do you guys recall those of you that are old enough recall the big heat wave that killed over 1,000 people in Milwaukee and Chicago? 1995, there was a verified dew point in Ottumwa, Iowa, near the corn sweat is what they call it, 88 degree dew point. Yeah. That means if it were to cool off that night, couldn't get below 88 degrees because that's when the dew forms. And when that happens, it releases heat and you can't cool off anymore. So, okay, tornadoes. How many have ever seen a tornado with your own eyes? Okay, where did you see it?
outside of Aberdeen, South Dakota.
Oh, okay, good place to see it. Long distance, you can see it. Yep. Who over here?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, Kentucky. Oh, you saw the one in '74? Okay, that was a real tornado. Most of the tornadoes that we have around here. You ever hear? When I was a kid growing up, I always heard about they'd show this radar, this little gray thing going around on TV, and it was a hook. I go, oh, the hook. I thought it was like some sort of hook coming out of the sky. You know. Now this is the hook. This is what the old radar that we had before our Doppler. That it's now the Doppler is now as old as the radar that it replaced. But this hook was showing the precipitation wrapping around this intense mesocyclone, and the tornado is much smaller than one of these pixels, right about here. But this is what we call a supercell tornado, and you can see how close it is to the radar. These are the giant supercell tornadoes that occur out in Oklahoma and Kansas and Texas and Nebraska, and you can see them from 30 miles away because there's flat, and there's no trees out there to block it. What we have around here are not usually the supercells. We end up with something else. But when we have the supercell tornadoes, the warnings go out for them. The warnings, notice that the warnings are much larger than the actual storm. This has become an issue here in Louisville in recent months because when we issue our tornado warning, the sirens go off for the whole county. And that's a practice that they do because